E.A. McElhenney was, we consider him the father of conservation in Louisiana. Paul J. Rainey was a descendant of a family that was in the coke business in the Midwest. They would take coal and make coke for the steel industry. He would not engage in business. So at 18 years old, his father said, well, I'll give you your inheritance now and go do what you want to do. And he bought a sailing ship and was the first man to hunt lions in Africa with dogs. He was the first man in the world to capture a live polar bear for a zoo. And when he wasn't in Africa hunting dogs, when he was here, he left to hunt. He commissioned McElhenney to find him coastal lands to hunt. He loved to hunt snow geese. So McElhenney found 40,000 acres adjacent to the old Louisiana Fur, which was a hunting club, and bought it and wanted to hire McElhenney to manage the property. And McElhenney said, well, I won't work for you, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I will manage your property for nothing, but I want 1/3 of your property of my choice upon your death. Rainey died at 42 years old in 1924. McElhenney got his third. The 2/3, Audubon was just getting started in the Northeast, and he approached them to see if they wanted a donation, and they said, we'd love to have it, but we don't have the funds to run it. So Rainey's sister, Grace Rainey Rogers, gave him $24,000 and something dollars to establish the Rainey Sanctuary, and that's when Audubon took over the property.
This land historically didn't have all these canals and waterways in it, and it was a big solid sheet of marsh in between some ridges that ran east and west. And when you dig all of these canals going straight over all of these ridges and connect all of the swales and the marsh, it caused interior land loss. We're suffering from this dissolution. Everything's just dissolving from the inside out. And Rita was the one that you can kind of see where there was a big difference right here before and after the hurricanes, because all that salt water got in and put on top of all this fresh and intermediate marsh to stress it, and then the next hurricane came and just lifted it all up. We wanted to get a small dredge that could be handled by landowners so that you could do it yourself. We are a landowner. Audubon owns this property, so we're a landowner, and we figured if we could do it ourselves, then our neighbor could do it themselves. And we wanted to test to see how easy or hard or expensive.
And the economics. I mean, the little dredge would burn 5 gallons of diesel a day, and very inexpensive to run.
But it's about 2 years, and it was mostly filled in, and now after it's been 5 years that you can barely tell the difference between where the open water was and where the old marsh is. So all of that behind us there was new land that Timmy and we created.
Yep. The fun was watching it build up and watching the grass grow in it. That was really amazing. I always knew I would be the manager here because of the age of the previous manager, and I came here with an open mind and learned techniques from him about marsh management that you couldn't learn at a university. You know, Rainey is a very special place because of its remote. The human interaction here is at a minimum. You know, these marshes they're worth a lot. Not maybe in dollars per acre, but the things that they produce and the things they protect, they're invaluable. The main job is to protect what we have and try to enhance those places. It's cheaper than losing it and trying to recreate it. I think what I'd like people to take away from here is that we are trying to be as innovative as we can and have an appreciation for people who are doing that type of work on the land. it takes a very special person to be here most of the time alone, and to document and watch to see what's going on.
Where we are now is what we call our test site, and this is where we learned to use the little dredge. So everything over to my left, that direction, that was open water. But the reason we usually bring people here is this is kind of midway in the pond that we filled with the little bit larger small dredge. With this little bit bigger dredge, they had a 10-inch hose. They filled the rest of our pond in a month, and they filled the whole thing. We had to tell them to stop ahead of the 30 days because they had put too much mud in it. In fact, they filled it about a foot above marsh level, and that it was like pudding that just sort of self-settled. If you zoom in out there, that's new grass in the middle of the pond that was deep water, 2 or 3 feet deep. So out there you can see little sprigs. And if it was lower, there's actually grass all over out there when it's mud flat. Little tiny sprigs are just germinating all over out here. It's really, really pretty. I've been working on the coast for a long time. I mean, I started overflying the coast back in the 80s, and that was before any of the beneficial use and the barrier reconstruction and any of that was going on. And I was watching that coastline every year move inland and morph and break open, and bays getting bigger and bigger without anything. And the group I was with at LSU worked hard trying to convince politicians that we needed to do something back then. So although the work I was doing back then seemed like I wasn't getting anywhere, we did make inroads. And so these people, the younger people now working toward, I'm working so hard, doesn't seem like anything's happening. You just got to keep at it. You got to keep at it, and you can start swaying that overall feeling about what can be done. I mean, it's worth saving. You just have to get everybody on board to move in that general direction, to do something now rather than in 10 years.
It's hard to make people from here engage. I think because we had so much land here and so much wetland here that it wasn't a priority. I think it's starting to be a priority for most people.
It's like an investment. If you did it now as opposed to 10 years ago, now is better than 10 years from now. Let's do whatever we can now. Fight the good fight and keep it up. And every now and then, you make a leap forward. So we're seeing a lot of it going on now.